Galilee, not the lower Galilee. Hamas in Gaza usually does the war efforts that they have in the south, the Negev of Israel, south of Israel. Put my glare softening glasses on. Oakley's, they're polarized. Polarized are supposed to cut out most of the blue light as well, by the way, guys. So you get a blue light glasses as well. I think the best polarized sunglasses have glass lenses, but go find them. They're out there. I have some, but they're cheap. Corning glassware makes them. Corning is a good company for making good products, and they're sold on Amazon rather cheaply, $35-ish, but they're rather dark, and they're good if you're going to go outside in a bright sunlight, but if you're trying to reduce computer glare, and not so great. They might have a lighter color, I don't know, but these Oakleys seem to do a good job. They're iridium and polarized, but they don't have a glass lens. You need the glass lens to get it great. These don't, but they're not that expensive either. You can get them in $50 range. Maui Jim is supposed to have the best polarized sunglasses, but they're ghastly expensive, like $200-300, and that hurts if you drop them. Then some of them have glass lenses. I have an old pair of Maui Jim with their older technology that I bought many years ago, many years ago, and they're not that dark, and they work well, but so do these. There's something they say about the this reddish color that enhances the color. Ray-Ban came out with a new kind of sunglasses. I don't know if it's a gimmick. There's concave and convex, so the lenses on most sunglasses curve out, like from the side, like that. So these are going to curve in, I think, or more straight, I don't know. And they say it enhances your vision, and you don't have your eye and your brain doesn't have to work to adjust the images. It seems gimmicky to me. I don't know. I have sunglasses from when I was in the world many years ago that were costly, and they seem to work really well today. There's some different brands I had. I can't remember all of them, but some of them were pretty good, and they still are. They still are. The Ray-Bans, like Top Gun movie, they use, I think he was using Ray-Bans, but the pilots wear a helmet with some sort of a big face shield that's a sunglass in it. And that probably costs the government $2,000-3,000 or $5,000, who knows what. And that's probably superior to any kind of sunglass you're going to get your hands on. The old Israeli pilots were using Ray-Bans. American pilots in World War II, and even in Vietnam, and probably even in Iraq, were using Ray-Bans. The Navy SEALs use other stuff because they're involved with the water, and they don't want the glare off the water. You get the sun coming down at you, and then the sun hits the water, and it reflects off the water. So you get it from all over. You get it all around you. Of course, you're out in the ocean in the boat and the water, so you're getting it from the sides and all that. So you really kind of need some sort of wraparound sunglasses to really do the job on the water. But I'm basically mostly using these in the house to cut computer glare. If I go out in the street, I'll use a clip-on over prescription glasses, or I'll use one of those transition things where it changes dark, and then for some crazy reason doesn't interfere with your vision very much. Why, I don't know, but it doesn't. And I don't know which transition lens I got. I got it in Israel, and they got about 3 or 4 different kinds. And I don't know what I got, but Israeli glasses tend to stink. They scratch, and the optometrists here are terrible. They can't get a good refraction on me. And I know if I was with an American optometrist, optometrists, they would, but not here. They use these stupid refractors. They're no good. I mean, they don't have, in America, an optometrist goes to college 4 years, goes to optometry school for 4 years. And they don't get out of optometry school unless they can refract all kinds of people. Just refracting somebody that needs a -3, distance glasses is not their goal. They want to, help them get the more complicated prescriptions. And these optometrists here, I don't know how long they go to school. Maybe it's 4 years, maybe it's 2, I don't know, but they don't seem competent. They really don't. They're more of a simplified refractionist than like an optometrist. One thing I learned, American doctors that went to school and trained in America are generally pretty good. But I don't know how true that is today. It was true years ago. So I came in, sitting outside, I took the little guys for a walk, and then we sat outside, and the humidity was 80-something% this morning. I mean, it was stifling out there. And, it was in the 80s and 82% humidity. Murder. Now it's 80% humidity. Humidity goes down. And the temperature's only 84, but it says it feels like 95. It does. I got to hydrate. I was just sweating out there. But we stayed outside. We all got some fresh air. Today we're going to have, according to the weather, 105 or so. Please pray that it doesn't get that hot. Please, please, please. And it works when I ask you to pray, and you pray. It doesn't get that hot. It consistently. So please pray. Some of you may have noticed that our prayers are being answered better than maybe a year ago or something like that, or a few months ago, even 3-4 months ago. So I do. There's changes coming, and the Lord generally will be slow on a lot of this. We're expected to have 19% chance of rain tonight, which is encouraging, because if it just spritzes, it's just going to increase the humidity. But if you get a good rain for an hour or something like that, it's going to really help. Well, anyway, tomorrow the high here will probably be about 101. And then the high on Tuesday probably be 97, which is still bad. 90, it may go as low as 95, and it's going to stay like that as long as they can forecast out, which is through almost the end of the month. So they're not well, they don't know what the Israeli weather's not that good. So I see in America they got weather balloons and planes doing flights and all that stuff all over the big United States. Israel's not big, and we have weather balloons and stuff inside Israel, right? But Israel's not that big, so the weather could easily come in off the Mediterranean, down from Turkey, Lebanon, in from Egypt, in from Saudi Arabia, in from Jordan and the Persian Gulf area. And we don't run, obviously, weather balloons and things like that over there, because they would just consider those weapons or war toys or surveillance. So that's why our weather is so limited. And if you think that Syria and Iraq and Lebanon and these countries, Jordan and them, have good weather forecasting, guess again, they don't. Okay? So when you get the weather and you put your TV on at 11 o'clock at night before you go to sleep in America, and you see the weather, it's pretty much what the weather's going to be tomorrow. Not in Israel. I see it change every hour. Especially when you pray. Okay. I'm going to be doing some more spiritual warfare teaching on the Spiritual Warfare Telegram site. There's some sort of problem with the website. The videos that I have up there, the teachings, not videos, Bible studies, was supposed to be in topics, and the topics are all showing empty. Something's wrong. I don't know what happened. It might have been a bad backup or something. So I've alerted the webmaster, and he'll fix it. I don't know what happened, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't know, but there's some sort of snafu. So the video hosting is a go. I paid for it, and that's unlimited bandwidth, and I'm waiting for the webmaster to make a video showing me how to do the uploads. He says it's not hard, so I can upload the videos I made. They're not going to be live streams, they're going to be videos up there. But probably 90%, or no, probably let's say 70–80% of the people that watch the videos don't watch it on live stream. It's mostly on video. Probably 80% at least. I don't know. So it's not going to be that serious of an impact. But I have no censorship whatsoever in any area. So I will be teaching pretty serious spiritual warfare. So it's MosheHakom.com. MosheHaCohen.com. It's just Bible work up there. There's nothing but just Bible studies right now. That's maybe in the future, if prophecy and time allows. I don't think I'm gonna have it. I don't think the Lord's taken me there, but I'll have, if time allows, I'll have a section where I'll put news articles up there. But Telegram does a pretty good job. It's sort of overkill, I don't know. Telegram doesn't seem to care about censorship as we know it. Okay, let me take a look at our live stream while we wait for people to come in. All right. Let's see if we got audio. Should have audio. Let's see if we got audio. So do we have good audio? Do we have good audio? So do we have good audio? We have audio, okay. And that, all right, give me a minute to do a little bit of housekeeping up here. Syrian sources are reporting massive explosions near Damascus. We did hit the Syrians in the Damascus, well, I think the Damascus area would be more fair. Last night about 4:10 in the morning, and there was a lot of explosions. It was an area that we hit 2 weeks ago. So I think it was probably Iranian weapons storage over there. I don't know what else it would be. It was a pretty large strike. I think Chief's got a plate, plastic plate stuck. I'll have to take a look at it in a second. It's a little bit difficult for Chief to run around in this heat and take them on walks, but they're pretty short walks. Let's see if I can figure out why the plate's there. Chief, where are you? What's wrong with the plate? Come here, Chief. Come here. Come. Let's pick you up. Okay, end the problem. All right. I think he had his foot stuck in the plate. Okay, so I do notice a difference in my eyes when I wear these sunglasses when I'm using the screen so long. Okay, let's do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. I came in here and Chief was panting from being hot, and it was not really great in here. So I put the AC on at a low temperature. I mean, it took about 60, 90 seconds and Chief stopped panting. It really cools the place off well. Thanks to the person that sent funds for that. And it also enables us to work quietly because I can shut the door and we don't hear the noises from outside the house. So on my main Telegram channel, I have started labeling certain events YR, Year of Recompenses, YR. And others I'm labeling DOB for Daughter of Babylon, and others I'm going to be labeling BP for birth pangs. So it's a quick way for me to show you these news articles and then you know where they fit in. Now, the birth pangs have been going on for quite a while, as far as I know, and they're rolling into the destruction of the nations in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, where it says he will annihilate or destroy all the nations that the Israelites went into in their captivity, which has got to be 100 nations, okay? I know that they've been in everything in Europe, and they've been in everything in North, Central, and South America, and I think most or all the Caribbean islands. They've also been in Asia and other places, and many parts of Africa, but probably not all of Africa, but I don't know. I know they were in South Africa, and they're still there in large amounts. And they were in what was called Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, and I guess some are still there. And of course they were in Egypt and some other Arab countries. I'm not totally up on everything. They definitely were in India, I believe. Now India is having a flare-up again. This is possibly going to be one of the biggest wars ever. Seriously. The two biggest nations by far are China and India. And they're having a dispute on a border area in the Himalayas, 14,000 feet up. And I'll read you a news article from my Telegram today that's rather significant. Why I have 16 people on Telegram and not on YouTube right now, I don't know, but anyway. Let's cover, let me find out for you. Oops, switched off my channel. Okay. There's a lot of things happening in Lebanon that we're going to go through. The strikes last night in Syria I talked about were in Damascus, actually, were in the suburb called Qudsaya. Um, and that was an area struck 2 weeks ago. That's one. Um, so much in the news, guys. I expect in the weeks to come, we're not going to be able to. Can't really keep track of all the news now. I could just keep track of a good piece of it, or the more significant stuff, let's say, but with the bigger countries and the bigger trouble. But I think in the days and even maybe weeks to come, there's gonna be so much. By the time we went through the news, there'd be a whole stack of new news to go through. So we'll have to just start filtering. So it was, the airstrikes were in an area around Damascus, and they're thinking, we don't have an official announcement yet from the IDF of Israel. What the thought is, it was a warehouse of Iranian militias, and again, it's generally weapons, missile storage, stuff like that. Here's that article. The Indian Army is preparing for combat readiness in the disputed Ladakh, Ladakh region, Himalayas, amid tensions with China on the line of actual control. The Indian Army held recently a artillery and close firing support exercises in East Ladakh, whatever, I don't know how you pronounce it, at an altitude of 15 to 17,000 feet in snowy mountainous regions near the border. Now, it appears to me that at higher than 10,000 feet, you're generally going to have to give oxygen to the soldiers. Now, that's when you're flying in a plane over 10,000 feet, you need oxygen. I think they probably could train some troops to get used to that. Maybe not 15, 17,000, maybe 12, but I think if you're getting up to 15,000 or 14,000, it's going to be really hard for the troops to function. Maybe if they've been climatized for a couple of years, I lived in a place once upon a time that was almost 7,000 feet high, and we got acclimated to it, no problem. And I was able to work out, for an hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes, and not sit down. And I used to have snacks there, like pieces of grapes and pieces of fruit I'd eat and things to drink. But the temperature was not hot. And I was acclimated, and other people would come there and they'd get dizzy and feel miserable. So even at 7,000, I used to go skiing up in Lake Tahoe at about 7,000, and you'd notice it because you're not used to it. I'd be in San Francisco, where you're like at sea level or below sea level or something like that, and then you get up into that altitude and you notice it. So anyway, China and India have had shooting with artillery and guns up there, and in the past 2 years or so, more than once, several times. China apparently clipped a piece of land away from India and built a base up there and dug in with a lot of soldiers and weapons. Now, it looks like China's stirring the pot again. India doesn't usually go out and stir the pot. India is more like, we're not going to start a war with you, leave us alone, China is worried about India. NATO is asking India to join, which I see no response from India. India is interested in BRICS, and BRICS, if prophetic time allowed, would turn into a military force like a NATO, as in my opinion, as I see it. BRICS is also trying to get a currency, not a trading currency, which they've developed, a gold-backed trading currency. They're talking about a regular currency based on a basket of currency. So a regular currency is what the people have in their wallets and their purses, and they buy a soda, gasoline, pay rent, food, regular currency. So that will cut down slightly on the use of the dollar. There's very few countries that use the dollar for a currency. I know two, Panama and El Salvador, and they're insignificant in terms of their very small size. So the other countries, they don't usually use that. But when they buy things abroad, they can't pay with their own currency frequently, so they have to pay with another currency. So they use a euro or a dollar, something like that. The big ones for buying stuff when your country has an obscure currency, like in Romania, you might not be able to buy something on eBay in America, or that kind of thing. So you have to use dollars. I go through this with the Israeli shekel. I can't pay for things abroad with an Israeli credit card in shekels. So the credit cards here allow you to pay in dollars and euros generally. So when you consider using dollars and euros, your spread of where you can use the money is massive, really massive. So a lot of countries will take that. Okay. So I want to just go through the news with you and show you how serious things are getting so fast. There's an article Hal Turner carried that some people sent in a sample of DNA from their lizard. Now, was it blood or saliva? I don't know what it was, okay? And the lizard's a pet, and they sent it in to a company called Company 23 for DNA tests. And it came back that they were 51% Ashkenazi Jewish and a major percent some part of Africa. Now, this was a lizard. So I tell people, forget these things, send in DNA tests to see if you're Jewish. It's a joke. I don't think they could tell. Now, another matter would be if they could, match DNA from a murder scene to a person. That's not what they're trying to, the criminal stuff there, they're trying to identify a person's DNA with the DNA sample found at a crime scene, usually, or on a weapon using it, or something like that. Now, that's a whole other story than what these people are trying to do. These people are trying to take your DNA and tell you what your national origins are. That's a little bit, from what I see, it doesn't work. And I've also heard other people do it with cats and dog samples and get crazy results. So eventually, I think what the DNA people will do to prevent them from having these type of things happen is test the blood, if it's a blood sample, to see if it's a human or an animal. But that'll cost them a bunch of money. Anyway, This is just this one company. Maybe this one company was just a fraud, company 23, and the others are not frauds. But it's going to be based on the representative sample. So the rabbis have tests like this. So they feed in to the sample base the DNA samples they want. They can control who's going to come up as a Jew. You see, it's silly, wasting your money. I don't trust the rabbis as far as I can throw them. I don't trust them. If this thing with India and China goes together, they have about 3 billion people. Imagine them warring. Now, there's a section, a state of India in the north, Manipur, I think it's called. A person from India told me this. There's been severe fighting there for a long time, months, maybe years, I don't remember, maybe as much as 2 years. And people are getting killed. And Modi's not doing a thing to stop it. I'm told if Modi sent the army in to reduce the fighting in probably 24, 48 hours or something, it would almost all be stopped. But he's not doing it. And curiously, a lot of churchianity Christians are up there in that area. They're probably not the ones causing the problem, but they're probably victims. Modi has a reputation of Modi, if he had his way, all the people in India would be a Hindu. Okay? He doesn't care for the Muslims and he doesn't care for the Christians. There's not that many churchianity Christians in India. Do they have any Messianic Jews in India? That is something we'll look at right now. I don't know. Let us see. It's just Jewish churchianity, but let's take a look. There is a small amount of Jews from India that have made Aliyah and lived in Israel, even. They're probably second to third generation now. I'm talking Messianic Jews. There's Indian Jews there called B'nai Menashe, and they're not believers in Yeshua. That's not what I'm looking for. We have about more than 80,000 Jews in Israel with origins from India. Now, 80,000. Now, that could mean Mom and Dad came here a long time ago, or Grandma and Grandpa came here. But that would be the origin. The Menashe Jews in India are known as the Shin Lung in India. They are supposed to be of Tibet, Burmese ethnic origin from the border of India and Burma, who claim descent from one of the lost tribes of Israel. Interesting. Whoops, this thing just to the website. All right. In 2020, now they're saying India was home to about 4,800 Jews. So there's not that many that the rabbis are going to call Jews, but there's a problem, they think, that there might be many millions of Jews there. Many years ago, there was a rabbi that had been studying the Jews in India and felt there were many millions of them there, and they told him that if he went over there and started doing mass conversions of Jews, like in a soccer stadium or something like that, they were going to strip him of his rabbi credentials so it wouldn't count. But he was apparently thinking of having, 40 or 80,000 people come into the stadium and converting them at the same time. With the men, they need to do the way they would do it is probably with a pinprick on the you-know-what aperture to get blood, but that's not the scriptures, and they don't follow the scriptures anyway, so I wouldn't pay attention to the rabbis. Their days are pretty much about over. As a rebellion, because they shut down public transportation in Jerusalem based on this new right-wing government, which has a strong ultra-Orthodox component in it. So some people got their hands on buses and are starting to run buses in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, I believe. Definitely Jerusalem, and I think also Tel Aviv on Friday evening and Saturday during Shabbat. In other words, the hours when the regular bus lines are not operating. And the biggest run is to take people to the beach in Tel Aviv, because a lot of these secular Jews like to go to the beach in Tel Aviv on Saturday, and they don't have a car, and if you have a car, where the heck you can park in Tel Aviv, So they take a bus. So somebody's running, I think left-wing group is running, secular Jews are running the buses to Tel Aviv so people can go there on the Shabbat. That's a counter move to what the Orthodox did. See, the Orthodox, to just call it simply, the ultra-Orthodox, they're stupid. They're irritating the country of Israel immensely against them, and it's going to come back on them. Not only imposing their will on the people that don't want to comply, okay? You see, in the old days, if somebody was doing something wrong on Shabbat, let's say, they would discipline them and punish them, okay? They wouldn't like it. They'd run them out of the community if they had to. They'd say, don't live here, go live in another country, something like that, which many Israelis do on their own right now. There's probably at least 1 million or 1.5 million Israelis living abroad. Let's look for that number. Well, just an interesting number. They say that the number of Jews that would be eligible to the rabbinic ultra-Orthodox law of return is about 25.3 million people in the world. $18 million of such people live outside of Israel, and I would say that when you start adding it in, because they calculate who's a Jew wrong, you probably, and the lost tribes, you're probably easily going to hit, 35, 45 million. So you can get an idea of the second Exodus. Easily, it could go to 100 million. I don't know, nor does anyone else. Well, they say that counting Jewish Israelis living abroad, they come up with a minimum number of 230,000, but they don't know. They say the Jewish population worldwide is 15.3 million. 7 million are in Israel now, and that's higher than I thought. Okay, so a lot of Israelis, they'll do military service and then they leave Israel. Or they'll stay here a couple of years and then they leave. Where do they go? Well, a lot of them, parts of the family, when they left Europe or other countries in the past, they scattered. They live in Europe, they live in Canada, America, South America, and they stay in close contact with their relatives in Israel, and they communicate with them, and they're pretty close, and they visit each other. So when the young ones, finish the military and stuff, and say, "Hey, I'd like to, leave," they say, "Well, come over here, come to Argentina, or come to Canada, or something like that, right? And I'll get you going." So they put them up, and they live there as long as it takes till they can get a job and get going. They need language skills. If they're going to Europe, English might work, or they might need to know French or German or Portuguese or Spanish, depending where they're going, right? And then they go to the country, and the family helps them, puts them up in a spare room, and gets them on their feet, waits till they get on their feet. Maybe that involves helping them go to college or learn a skill, or maybe they have a business, they can employ them, or they can help the Jewish community, and through the synagogues will frequently help if they can hire an Israeli, they do. And then they come back, usually, it depends. A lot of them will come back every year or two for a visit with the family. They drift away from their friends usually pretty quickly. A few years, and they become distant. They don't have to do reserve service if they're living abroad. Israel doesn't do anything to them about that. As long as the guys did their 3 years and the women did their 2, or they were exempt. And they live in a lot of countries, Now, I think the figure 230,000 is quite small. I really do. So I think it's a bigger figure, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's only 350, 400, but I don't think it's 230,000. I think it's larger. I've known Israelis to live in other countries, not just America, other countries. They tend to stay together. They don't assimilate that well for many years. If they're Zionists, which how could they be real Zionists if they're not living in Israel? A lot of them, they'll hook up with the synagogue, and in the synagogue you got a lot of Jews that don't want to live in Israel, so they're sympathetic, and they can make connections and go there. Not that many of them have a lot of education. One of the reasons I think they discriminate against people, they call them Anglos, English-speaking people. And what country do the English-speaking people come from to Israel? Australia, New Zealand, right? Canada, America, England, South Africa, and maybe Rhodesia, and Zimbabwe. And what they do is a lot of these people, specifically Canada or America, and Australia and New Zealand, have a college degree, they have skills. And they come here, and the Israelis discriminate against them heavily. They don't pay them anywhere near what they pay a native Israeli, and most of these native Israelis are from Arab countries. They're not Ashkenazi, they're from Arab countries, and they don't go to college. Mommy and Daddy couldn't read. Mommy and Daddy came here, and they spoke Arabic. Sometimes they spoke French, like Morocco, Algiers, Tunisia, and they learned Hebrew all right. But you'd go in their houses years ago when there was no reading material in the house unless the kid had school books. And this business would go to college. It's dark here, I can't see. This business would go to college, and get ahead, and it's an education, and they want to take it away from you and all that, right? That's not correct thinking, but that's what a lot of Jews will say. So they had educations and they had skills, and they came here, and the companies needed them, but the companies cheated them and screwed them and didn't pay them fairly. Okay. That's going to get them cut off. Those are the 2/3. See, where do they come off with a rotten attitude like that? Okay? Where do they get it from? Not from God. They got over here, they got set up, they bought their houses cheap, or or they stayed on a kibbutz for free or something like that. And now they come over here, and now they got more established, and they become slumlords. And they take advantage of bleeding the new immigrants. Oh, yes, they do. They go shopping for Anglos to take advantage of them. And when there's time to move out, they give them a list of repairs for a lot of money. If they don't do it, they'll sue them, and the courts will rule against the Anglos. Yes, they do. They don't give the Anglos much of a fair shake in this country. If they're up against an Israeli. If they're up against an Arab, well, that could be different. But if they're up against an Israeli, no, they're not going to get a fair shake. So they are very, very bad. The idea is to stop Jews from coming in here. They took in 1 million Russians in 1991. I was here when that was going on. I was at the end of it. And they had all kinds of degrees. But the educational system in Russia was backwards. So they weren't that advanced. So what did they do? They went to school in Israel. Well, they didn't too much, the adults did. They had children, and their children were like the parents. They were good students. And they went to school, and what did they do? They became engineers, teachers, pharmacists, doctors, nurses, medical technicians in an advanced level. They became all kinds of educated things, right? And they knew the ways of Israel, okay? And they organized, and they got Avigdor Lieberman with a political party that doesn't have a lot of votes, but he has some sway in the government. He's usually sitting at 5 to 7 votes in the Knesset out of 120. And he fights for their rights because he's one of them. And the Israelis said to themselves, oh my gosh, these people are getting the good jobs. Why are they getting the good jobs? Because they get an education, and the Israelis don't want to get an education. The Israelis won't give them good positions in the security apparatus, in the military, and so forth. Why? Because they're going to be told, well, you qualify for this highly classified unit or this or that, but I can't do a background investigation on you. You came over here from Russia, and I don't know what happened in Russia. I can't give you the clearance. What a load of crap, huh? So they don't ever get in these good units. Now, if they came over here at 6 years old and grew up here, yeah, that's going to be hard for them to stop them from that. See what I'm saying? There's heavy discrimination. So imagine I come over here as a Jew, I want to get away from discrimination. Now I wind up being discriminated against by Jews, or people who say they're Jews. Could you imagine that? That's what this place is like. That's why I say it's a very hard place to live. I don't make a living in the local economy. First thing is, if you're over 50, they don't touch you, because once they bring you into a company, they have a terrible time ever firing you. It's very, very difficult. They put you in a, let's say, 50 years old, and you work there, and you're 62 or 61, and you know you're not able to travel around and do what, you know, they want to get rid of you. They can't get rid of you. So they don't want to hire you when you're 50. If you're 40, they'll hire you, maybe 45, but that's it. I think when you hit retirement age, they can push you out, no problem, which I think is 66, 65, something like that. They could push a man out a year. Women, I think, is 62. Then I think they could send them down the road. I gotta do something with this thing. It's freezing now. Let's see what happens here. So they can shove them out. But they don't want you. You know? They don't want you. And what they want to do is they want to chew you up and spit you out. And if you leave, they're pretty happy to see you leave. Now, if you come in here and you're not making money off the local economy, they're not that upset with you. Oh, you want to come live in Israel with us? Okay. You're going to bring money into Israel. Yeah, they're not that worried about it. Okay? But you try to go out and get jobs in the workforce and take work away from them because they didn't take the trouble to go to university and learn a skill. See, they work on something called protexia. That's a Hebrew word. It means corruption, basically. And they'll support a corrupt slob like the Curse of Israel, Netanyahu, because he knows that the only reason people are going to him and supporting him is for protexia, so they'll give money to the party. And then when they need something, they say, oh, you know, my daughter's applying for a job at the electric company, she wants a promotion, you know, and they'll promote them. So they push the incompetent Israelis up without experience in an education over the skilled people. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And when you want to start getting building permits, you want to start getting contracts with the government, work with the government, if you don't have protexia, if you're not paying them off, they're not going to give you any of this. They're not going to help you. They'll be against you. Because by being against you, it makes the people give more protexia to get anywhere in Israel. It's not like, hey, I want to sell heroin at the high school, I'll give you a cut. No, it's nothing like that. It's not paying them off to commit criminality. It's paying them off for political favors. And that's how these people get ahead, because they can't get ahead on their own merit because they're freaking incompetent nincompoops. You got it. The actual heads of these companies, departments, and things like that are S-spots, and they're even more incompetent. Okay, but to get, regular manager jobs, good shifts, good this, good that. See, the government, one of the biggest industries in Israel is tourism. And, you know, where the heck are you going to get money to go build yourself a 250 room hotel? The bank's going to give it to you. You're not a Satan-bot. You're not going to get anything from the bank. So they'll give it to an S-bot, and the S-bot builds it. And nincompoop then hires people that have skills to do the work. Architects make the plans and stuff like that. Then when it opens, they got to hire people to run the kitchen that know what they're talking about, that know what they're doing, and frequently they can't find an S-bot that knows what they're doing. Very few really do. A bigger class of nincompoops you couldn't find, I'm telling you. So they'll get somebody that knows what they're doing to run the kitchen, and they'll make a decent amount of money because it's competitive. If they don't hire them, they'll go to someone else. So there's still a fair market. But then along comes a nincompoop that has no skill set, no education, and the family gives money to a political party. Well, then the political party will push them in to different places where they can. That's their job, government jobs. You're not going to ever get ahead in the government unless your family was doing protects you. If they need people to do something, they'll do it. You'll get the lousy jobs. You're not going to get the good jobs. And that's how it works. So they were not nice to the Russians. They were mean to the Russians, but not so bad though. Not all of them. They wanted the Russians to come. Back then, I remember talking to Israelis, S-bots included, and they felt if Israel could push their population of Jews to 9 million, it would be a good thing for Israel. Why? I'll tell you. Because then Israel could make more refrigerators, washers, dryers, dishwashers, air conditioners, televisions, heaters, things that all the Israelis buy. Okay? It would be better for them to make them here because they'd be able to have a bigger market, they'd be able to sell more. Okay? And at 9 million, it was thought that Israel could manufacture automobiles, which is a major source of money going out of the country. Well, the problem with that is the government taxes the automobiles 100 to 150%. Okay? So a car that costs you $30,000 is $60,000 here. Plus $3 a gallon tax on gasoline. $3 every time you buy a gallon of gas. The tax is $3 plus the gasoline. Diesel's $8 now. A gallon. Okay? See how sick this place is? So the government doesn't want to have any big company here build cars because those cars are not going to be taxed at 100 or 150%. Oh, on top of that, you get the 17% VAT tax when you bring the car in. On top of that, all they would be able to do to the domestically manufactured car is put a 17% VAT tax on it. Now, were cars ever made here? Yes. Ford, who has a history of being anti-Semitic with the old Henry Ford, opened up a place to make Ford trucks in Nazareth, which is an Arab community heavily, and hired Arabs. And then the government of Israel bought a ton of those trucks. They were SUV kind of trucks for the police and other agencies, helping give the Arabs jobs. See how dumb the country is, the way these S-bots run it? They don't make no sense. And I don't know if it still goes on. I don't think it does, because I don't see those Ford-made vehicles. So all the cars that I know of that are sold in Israel are imported. A lot of them are like Fiat is a very popular car here. Citroën is reasonably popular. You see some Volkswagens. What else do you see? Range Rovers at high end. You see Toyota and Datsun. You see Hyundai and Kia. A tiny bit of Buick. And you see odds and ends that aren't very popular here, like Dodge Ram pickups and GMC pickups and stuff like that. But Chevrolet Spark, these little almost not real cars, like toy cars, they sell for a lot of money here. They got those, it's, you know, most of the cars sold in Israel are the junky cars. If you get to a point where you're at a Toyota Corolla, it's a very expensive car here. You spend a lot of money on it, If you get up to a nicer car, even more, so not that many people have the money. High-powered motor cars here, with a big powerful engine are fairly obscure. There's no reason for it. The freeways are full of traffic. You're not going to go fast. You're not going to need the handling the brakes because you're not going fast. You could buy a large car which will help you with impact. That is, is something you can do. And there's a tremendous amount of motorcycles in Israel. 200cc is what they typically buy. Cheap junk from China and stuff like that. They don't get usually Yamahas, Kawasaki's, Hondas, and they get Chinese junk usually. A lot of people use electric skateboards. Well, I don't know what you call them. It's like a skateboard with a handle that comes up and you hold on. And people use that. And then people are also using electric bikes. But the way these people drive in Israel, no way I would want that. If I had my druthers here, I would get a large SUV. That's substantial. So if any of these nincompoops hit you, nothing happens. We had a rent-a-car, one of these little small, I think it was a Fiat 500 or like a Chevy Spark, and somebody came out of an intersection and hit us, and the car rolled on its side, and not much of anything happened to their car. They got a ticket. We had a horrible time getting any money out of the insurance company, and I think we lost money because we had a deductible to the rent-a-car company, and I don't even know if they ever take it. I mean, fighting with them, it was so stupid, and the lawyers are so worthless. In Israel, in America, you got a lawyer, the lawyer's going to be your friend. Lawyers are afraid in America to turn against their client. They got to really try hard to do the right thing for their client. Here, your own lawyer becomes your enemy. You have an adversarial position with your own lawyer. Not always. They're all not bad, but a lot are bad. And I don't trust the court system here one bit. I think I don't think it's a straight up court system. And definitely the deck is stacked against new immigrants. New immigrants don't get to be judges. It would be a rare thing. Maybe if they were here, 35 or 40 years, they would. But that's why you're going to see, in the eyes of the Lord, they come to Israel, they have it easy, they get set up, and then they don't want the other Jews to come here. They want to close the door in their face, and if they do come, they want to rip them off, scam them, fraud them, and all of that. They don't understand that's going to get them cut off, probably this year. I would expect it to be this year. They have no respect for the Torah, no respect for Jehovah. They don't fear him. And a lot of them are following the Talmud. And the Talmud doesn't even teach them to do that. They just do it because they think they're getting away with it. And you got to understand, when you wind up in the lake of fire, you're not there for 100 years. Okay? And you're not there for 500 years. And you're not there for 10,000 years. Not that any person could imagine what 10,000 years is. But you're not there for 100,000 years. You're not there for 1,000,000 years. You're not there for 1,000,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000,000 years. You're there forever. No limit. You're never going to die. You're going to be, so to speak, born again, dead in the lake of fire. If that's a term I made up. You're not going to expire. You're not going to get reincarnated. You're not going to get forgiven. You're just never going to get out of there. You're going to be there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It's never going to end. Where we will be in a paradise that we can't imagine because it's so good and so peaceful and so joyful. Nobody dies, nobody gets sick, nobody's injured and hurt, nobody's crippled. Nobody's running around fighting with each other. There's no robbers. You think you're going to lock your house up in heaven? Well, why? Why would you lock your house? What would be the point of it? I don't believe there's any economy up there. What would you buy? I don't think there's an economy there with money or anything. I don't believe it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But everybody's happy. Everybody's got enough of everything. Some will have more than others because some get more rewards than others. But, you had idiots up there. Heaven got tested too. A third of the angels got thrown out with Satan. The others proved true and faithful. And you don't get in there unless you get proved true and faithful. The others that want nothing to do with God, they don't want to follow his laws. They don't want to follow his rules. They want to hurt all the other people. They go into the lake of fire. And they're cut off from God. They have no contact. They can't call out to him and say, he doesn't hear them, nothing. They're just finished. They're not ever coming out of it. They're not ever going to be told their punishment is over. No, it's a forever. It doesn't stop. God's not a liar. If he took them out of it and said, oh, okay, I forgive you now, then he would be a liar because then he didn't stick to his own word, and he doesn't operate that way. He sticks to his own word. And the word must come true, and that's so awful. So when you think about what these idiots do, how they sit up at night and plan plots against you and try to set traps for you and drag you into sin and confuse you, prevent you from acquiring money, take advantage of you in every way, economically and other, you got to understand that you're going for an eternal paradise and they're going for an eternal horribleness that's beyond what you can imagine. And part of that horribleness is it never ends. It never ends. These are cursed children. These people have it bad. And you're going to start seeing them this year of recompenses. I reckon billions of them are going to get cut off. India is playing a lousy game. Does India really do bad things to Israel? No, not really. I think they might try to take advantage of Israel economically, like buy a missile or a weapon system and to test it and then say, no, we don't want it, and then make their own copycat, or, they may do things like that. And that's not nice, but they don't run around doing bad things to Israel, but the Israelis have been there and they weren't treated well. They're not there anymore in any number. So they fall under Jeremiah 30:11, the destruction of the nations that he sent the Israelites into in their captivity, and India is one of them. So Modi doesn't know what he wants to do. He wants to be in BRICS, he wants to be friendly with NATO, he wants to be friendly with America and Israel and all the other countries at the same time. He wants to be friendly with the enemies of these other countries, China, Russia, Iran. And he's trying to play the game that Switzerland was playing in World War II, the neutrality. But how good did Switzerland play it? Taking cases of gold from gold teeth and stuff like that from the Nazis, and well, I think they melted them at the bars and letting them deposit it there. See, back in the days before World War II and in World War II, many of the dentists' work, they didn't do a lot with the mercury fillings. Maybe they had enough brains to understand mercury wasn't a good idea. Why would I say that? Because going back in the days of Al Capone and those people, Al Capone had syphilis, and the way they would treat syphilis back then is insert mercury inside the urethra of the male and the female, and it would kill the mercury, but it also ruined their nervous system. So when Al Capone got out of jail, he was, they said, suffering from tertiary syphilis. Maybe he was suffering from mercury poisoning to get rid of the tertiary syphilis. It didn't really get rid of it, or I don't know what it did, but I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but it could have been the mercury, they tried to treat him, and it could have been tertiary syphilis. But that's how they treated things. So anyway, maybe the dentists didn't like using mercury back then. I don't know, maybe they did. But they had a thing called an inlay, okay, which I don't think the kids that go to dental school in the last, or the people that went to dental school, say starting in the 70s, 50 years ago, were really well trained or practiced with inlays. Inlays were used with a gold metal made into some kind of amalgam. It had different ingredients in it, and when they drilled your tooth out, they put a temporary inlay in there made out of some plastic or something, right? And then they would send the mold to the lab, and the lab would make the inlay, and then you'd come back in, and the dentist might shave it down or sand it down or something to make it fit better and glue it in. And they didn't do a root canal that much and stuff like that, so they put these rather large inlays in, not a little filling, inlays, and they were made out of gold, and they lasted forever. And people back then had bad teeth, and they had some of them had a lot of inlays, like 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, right? And then they used to do gold teeth too. So I remember this when I was a kid, and you would, today if they do a crown, it's the color of the tooth, and you can't, a dentist can tell the difference, but a lot of people don't know the difference, okay? Most people would. So they do an inlay, and they would use a gold tooth, which was a piece of gold that went up over where they drilled out the tooth and didn't work on the tooth, and the tooth was weak, and they didn't want it to fracture or break, so they would grind the tooth down and put a gold tooth on it. And they often used 10 karat gold or 12 karat, which was a hard gold. I don't think they used 14 because it was already getting too soft. I think 10 was what they used. And it didn't look as gold as 14 does. It was still gold. And they put those things, gold teeth, on top of the tooth to give it strength. And they glued it in, and they did stuff like that. So the Nazis, when they put the people in the camps, after they killed them, they had, prisoners in the camp run around to take the tooth out of the cadaver, the gold, and throw it in a bin, and collected massive amounts of gold that went to Switzerland. So if the Holocaust was not real, in terms of 6 million people going to the camps, how do you account for all this gold? So Switzerland banks got in trouble because they were accepting this gold that the Nazis melted down, and they had no other source of it other than this. So they also got a lot of wedding rings from the people. Men and women had gold wedding bands, which were usually 14 karat. And Europe had funny gold. They had 10, they had 12, they had 14, 16, 18, 22. I think most of the bands were probably 12 or 14, probably 14 predominantly, like America, because it's still hard enough. You don't want to have a ring out of 18 karat gold. It's too soft. It's not a good idea. 14 is a good compromise. 10 karat doesn't have enough gold in it to look very golden. 12 is obscure, but it looks gold. It's harder than 14, and it looks like 14, and that's not a bad choice. 22 karat gold, which is what they use in other countries, India, for instance, is a beautiful colored gold. It's gorgeous, but it's soft as all get up. It doesn't make for good jewelry. You know, it knocks it out of shape, and the stone might not stay in the setting so good. But I think if you were just wearing gold without stones in it, it's not going to be that bad. And they also have 23, 24 karat as well, which is like 22. I don't know how you're going to tell the difference between 22 and 24. It's about the same thing. I'll be back in a minute. Squeaky door, don't I? All right, let me get through. Can I get through? Ugh. So let's go back and go through some of these events that happened in the news just in the last day, which are massive, and it makes the point that as this grows, Poland, the Minister of National Defense has created a military task force near the border with Belarus. The purpose of the operation is mainly to train soldiers of the Polish army, but the group will also constitute reserves in the event of a deterioration of the situation on the eastern border with Belarus. That's a war drum. That's sort of like a beginning of a birth-paying nation fighting nation. Um, it'll move into a year of recompenses event shortly, I'm pretty sure. Belarus is a tight ally with Russia. So we attacked Syria last night at 4:10 in the morning, as I told you, which is a year of recompense event. It's an actual destruction of war, and it's a birth pain. War, a nation fighting nation. Okay, the Lebanese debate, that's a Lebanese website. An open letter was published from the Minister of Culture, Judge Mohammed Wissam al-Murtada, to 9 nominal Christian representatives. This group signed a petition. The 9 Christian representatives signed a petition for the Parliament to remove Section 534 from the Lebanese Penal Code. This section criminalizes same-sex relations with up to 1 year in prison for this. The irony is that the Muslim minister quoted Romans 1, 22 to 28 to convince these Christian individuals to withdraw their petition. They're churchianity, they don't care about the Bible. Saudi-Palestinian Authority relationships. The Saudi ambassador to Jordan has presented his credentials as the first Saudi ambassador to the Palestinian Authority. So this is, of course, the Saudis showing they have very little interest in doing an Abrahamic Accord relationship with Israel. They want to work with the Palestinian Authority now. The Lebanese Christian community, you see, there's a lot of trouble in Lebanon right now, a lot. Their economy is not in the toilet, it's under the toilet, okay? It's really bad. And they're having a lot of brother fighting brother. They're getting ripped apart inside, which is a birth pain, ruler fighting ruler. And it's happening because Hezbollah is threatening to wipe out Israel. And it's not lightweight in Lebanon. It's not that they're just writing stuff on Twitter or something like that. It's serious. It really is. Lebanon's Christian community raises its voice against Hezbollah. More and more prominent Lebanese officials from the Christian Al-Kataib and Lebanese forces parties are publicly expressing their views against Hezbollah in recent days. This surge in assertive rhetoric coincides with a turning point in the Christian community's perception of Hezbollah due to the events involving Hezbollah weapons truck in the Christian village of Al-Kahal on Thursday, which led to fatal clashes. You see, it's serious. It's resulting in bloodshed. Inside Lebanon, ruler fighting ruler. The Christian rulers fighting the Hezbollah rulers. You got it. That's a birth pain. Starting this new wave of rhetoric was Al-Kataib's leader, Sami Gemayel, who declared that the struggle against Hezbollah will no longer remain confined to the political arena. So he's talking about we're going to the streets, as in bloodshed. No longer confined to the political leader means what's left, right? Bloodshed. Since Gamaliel's announcement, numerous Christian politicians have joined in publicly condemning the Shiite organization, that's Hezbollah. Here are several notable examples from the past day alone. From one day. This is Zayad Hawad, a Lebanese member of parliament from the Lebanese Forces Party, says the following: Hezbollah must comprehend that no favorable environment exists for its weapons and that it cannot enforce its will. It cannot enforce, it would be more like force, its will, on the Lebanese people. Abu Ali with this is choppy English, it was in Arabic originally, saying he can't force its will on the Lebanese people by force. Our Abu Ali battle against Hezbollah has become public. Salim Sayega, deputy chairman of the Al-Talib party, Hezbollah, has displayed its vulnerability. It lacks legitimacy. We are prepared to confront it with determination. The bloc of parties opposed to Hezbollah, the struggle against Hezbollah's ambition to assert dominance extends across the entirety of Lebanese society, encompassing more than just a specific group. They want to get rid of Hezbollah. They don't want to see Hezbollah start a war with Israel, a real war. Tony Abi Najim, a member of the Christian Lebanese Forces Party. Members of the Lebanese Forces and the Al-Khatib Party did not participate at all in the event in Al-Kanali. That's when a weapons-bearing truck flipped over and the weapons rolled out on the street or something, and they were attacking the Hezbollah for bringing weapons into their area, and people died in that attack. And he's saying if his people had been there, no Hezbollah militant would have gotten out of the convoy alive. Well done to those who were there. See, they're really turning against Hezbollah big time now. Very interesting, isn't it? Dr. Fares Antoun Soaid, a Lebanese Maronite politician, former member of parliament and Secretariat General, coordinator of the anti-Hezbollah bloc, the March 14th alliance made the following unequivocal statement: I am in favor of violence against Hezbollah. If you can bring me Ariel Sharon so that he can enter Lebanon with 100,000 soldiers, bring him. I'm in favor. I say this openly. I don't know what that means. If you can bring former Syrian President Abu Ali Hafez el-Assad in the Tel al-Zatar massacre of 76, bring him. If you can bring Saudi Arabia to arm you, I'm in favor. And if there is no choice, then we will go to dialogue. And it's kind of vague what that means. There's more flooding in China. China is underwater. The streets became like a sea in a place called Nanning. That's like August 11th, which is the day before yesterday. A sudden deluge of heavy rainfall swept through the city, causing widespread water. Okay, this is the continuing whirlwind of the Lord falling on the head of the wicked until it accomplishes what Jehovah wants it to. That's what that is. The United States is apparently unblocking Iranian funds for some idiotic reason. What the United States is up to is usually you have to interpret their actions. They don't usually broadcast what it is they're doing. Hold on, this thing got discombobulated. I gotta reboot it. That's not gonna take but a minute. Telegram gets glitched. You try to open an article and it won't open sometimes. And that's what happens. So I just reboot it. Then you get a rebuild, and then you don't have the glitch till the next time. Then you get it. All right. Got it rebooted. One thing these newer iPads do is boot things. There's some article, but I don't quite understand it, where a convoy of Chinese engineers was attacked for 2 hours in the port city of Gwadar. I'm not understanding really what all happened there. Apparently this is an ongoing development, or very recent, and I'm not understanding it yet, but I'll put it up on Telegram and see how it clears in the future. We'll get more information. The countries that were going to go into Niger and restore order, as they like to say, put it off for a week. Or planning what they were going to do, put it off for a week, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Iranian proxies attacked American bases in eastern Syria. Eastern Syria is probably not in Greater Israel, because the border is Euphrates for Greater Israel. America is sending warships around the world to counter the Chinese-Russian expansions of their navies. Syria's reporting massive explosions where we attacked last night, so it probably got a lot of damage. I'm not so sure about the Twitter censorship because I think maybe they're under DOS attack or something. So they wouldn't let me post some articles, and now it put them in a queue. And when I tried posting them yesterday, it let me post from the queue one article anyway. So I think they got a problem other than censorship. I'll be right back. Hold on, I gotta get something. Gotta do something. My wife's going shopping. I had to give her a request. I gotta bring the temperature down here. So I think in a week or so, or 2 weeks, there'll be so much news we won't be able to report it. I didn't even report about any of the developments in the Pacific with Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, China. The U.S., every time I turn around, is deploying naval warships in different places in the world. But not that many. They're keeping a lot around America, they're worried. And people are talking about the fire in Hawaii, and they're saying the trees didn't burn, and they got pictures and videos. Well, you can see the trees are there. I don't know if they're burned up or not. I can't tell. I don't know what's up with that. I mean, you could start throwing all kinds of theories around. I don't know. Maybe those trees don't burn easily. I don't know. This is something I don't know what to tell you about. We'll see if we get more information and we learn more about that. But right now, I couldn't tell you too much about what's going on with that. See if we get more information. Oh, somebody managed to get the pinned message off the chat now. They're increasing their popularity. See, I have a lot of enemies because of what I teach, don't I? We'll cover that in a minute. They couldn't used to take the pinned messages down, now they can. Just keep putting it back, that's all. These people don't fear the Lord that are doing it. But that doesn't mean the Lord won't curse those that curse you. And they're trying to curse all of us. So cry out to the Lord repeatedly about this. And the Lord probably doesn't like to work openly too much about this, so they're probably not going to get spontaneous combustion or anything like that. But you can ask the Lord to punish things to them, punish them in a way that they don't know it's Him doing it, but that the punishment would be so severe they wouldn't be able to continue this activity of harassing us in the chat, which really isn't much importance, really. It doesn't mean much, you know. I'm going to be doing much better video presentations on my own website than I do here. You'll see. It'll be easy to do that. It's not going to be difficult. A good ploy is to do spiritual warfare, something like this. I'm going to be a little cryptic. Well, you know, I'm going to have to do it on Telegram. That's it. I'll put it up on Telegram later. On the spiritual warfare Telegram. If we really enhance, we'll be able to get rid of them without things like, you know, spontaneous combustion, hail and brimstone, boils and locusts and stuff like that. It'll work. You'll see. They're a pain in the neck because they're so dumb, okay, and they don't know what they're doing. They're deceived, and they're laughing and, you know, they're enjoying. Now I've seen a lot of them really suffer. Okay, one of these jackasses is full of nuts and bolts from surgery to keep them together, and it keeps coming back. You know, well, they keep coming and they keep coming, and then what happens? Kaput. They die, the angels take them to the pit, and then they're miserable for billions of years. It's not even billions of years, it's more than that. You know, the punishment is so horrible. And That's because they come after you as a way to thwart God from having his kingdom on earth. They hate God. And that's why they get you. Because the you that they get, the believers, it never really did anything to them. What did you ever do to them? Nothing. Not a thing. Did you ever harm them or plots against them? No, no, no. They go after you just because you're serving Jehovah and Yeshua HaMashiach. That's why they go after you. Okay? To stop to stop the gospel from spreading. Because they're fearful. See, they know there's a Jehovah and Yeshua HaMashiach, and they know there's angels, and they know there's Holy Spirit. These are more advanced despots. They know these things go on. But Satan deceives them into thinking that they can defeat Jehovah and Yeshua, and they can't, and they think they can, because they get lied to by Satan. So ultimately it's Satan and the powers of the air that are doing this. It's them. So we don't, at this stage, we don't go after the people, we go after the unclean spirits. And if you think that it's a light thing for them to go into the pit where they have no peace, and the dry place, you're wrong. It's not a light thing. They tell their followers that it's nothing, but it's real serious. They don't have a good time there. They're very pained. And you can keep doing that and just keep doing it and doing it. Remember what I say, the more spiritual warfare you do around the world or around your state or your city or whatever, the less trouble you and all the other believers are going to have. Because they have to pick the pieces up when somebody is tossed. They have to go back and shore them up as to what happened. Well, you can block them from going back and explaining to them what happened. You know, better on Telegram though. But wonder what the temperature is now. I just put it in. .91, and the humidity is down to 57%. It was in the 80s, now it's down to 57. And our high will be about 105. And our low tonight will be 87, so you can forget going out at night, it's going to be miserable. I went out last night and took the little dogs for a walk, and then we stayed outside for a while. And, well, no, I didn't. I put them back in the house. I don't even think they wanted to be outside. I went outside with the big dogs for a while, like an hour. And it was all right out there, but it was hot and uncomfortable. Today will be the last day. Last time we had a good 2 weeks of this. I can handle it, you know, knowing that today is tomorrow is still going to be bad. Oh no, they're raising the temperatures again. Tomorrow they're saying it'll be 108. Today in Tiberias it's going to be 112. See, this is, I think, the furnace of the Lord. He's getting the punishments in on us, on the Israelites. It's going to be the end of their punishment, because the blessings, the double portion of blessings is about to show up. He sent his son, Yeshua. But what most people don't understand is his two other sons. If there aren't, then your scriptures are wrong. Zechariah 4. And the angel that talked with me came again, and waked me as a man that is waked out of his sleep, and said unto me. Now you see, these people were taking an angel visitation in stride. How will you respond when you see angels show up and talk to you? Pray that you be okay with it. You should be. The angels will help calm you down and soothe you. And said unto me, What seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick all of gold, with a bowl upon the top. So he's seeing a vision. and his 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes of the 7 lamps which are upon the top thereof, and 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side thereof. So I answered and spake to the angel that talked with me, saying, What are these, my Lord? And the angel that talked with me answered and said unto me, Knowest thou not what these be? And I said, No, my Lord. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of Jehovah unto Zerubbabel. Now Zerubbabel was trying to build a temple at this time. It was something like 15, 17 years after they got out of Babylon when this was written. So Zerubbabel and Zechariah would have been contemporaries, saying, Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith Jehovah of hosts. Now your power is, when you get the power in Zechariah 12, it's going to be by his spirit. You're not going to go to the gym and shoot testosterone and look like Arnold, or fight like a great boxer. It doesn't work that way. That's why the 2 witnesses burn their enemies up. They're not going to, outbox them or karate kick them and do things like that, because that's what man does. So they're not going to train for years to be a great kickboxer or a boxer or a fighter or a knife fighter or a swordsman or whatever, because people do that. It's something that people cannot do. Have fire or lightning go out of their mouth and burn up their enemies. People don't do that. You don't go to the gym or the dojo or the a kung fu sifu or something like that and learn how to make fire come out of your mouth. There's idiots at circuses that put kerosene in their mouth and spit it out at a match and it blows with fire, but that's pretty dumb, and that's not what we're talking about. That doesn't burn anybody up or anything like that. Who art thou, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel? Thou shalt become a plain. That's spiritual talk. He allegorical. He shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, Grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, now this is the word of the Lord. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of his house. His hands shall also finish it. There was a 14-year interruption of this. This was temple number 2. Herod's temple was temple number 3, and the next temple, which we call Ezekiel's temple, is number 4, not 3, 4. His hands shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that Jehovah of hosts hath sent me unto you. For who hath despised the day of small things? Zerubbabel's temple was quite small compared to Solomon's, and it wasn't as beautiful and glorious as Solomon's. Now the Ezekiel's temple will dwarf Solomon's temple and Herod's temple, be super duper, because it comes down from heaven, and it's not New Jerusalem. I know the difference. Things keep getting progressively better and better. I believe first we'll have the tabernacle, which Jeremiah hid in Mount Nebo, according to 2 Maccabees 2. Then we'll have the temple that comes down from heaven, and the next will be New Jerusalem, and then the next, with Yeshua and the glory of God of Israel enthroned in there, and then the next is us in heaven forever and ever and ever. But you got to understand, you're going to be in paradise for trillions of years. Do you get it? Nobody's dying, nobody's getting sick, nobody's going bankrupt, nobody's getting poor. They don't have recessions and depressions, and none of that. It's just fantastic for eternity. Remember that. You can't convince the unclean spirit serving people of this, because they're wicked and evil, and they don't believe it. They don't fear God, and because they get the good jobs, the money and stuff like that, they think they're gods or something. But they're all sick and busted up. I don't know what lies Satan tells them about that. Maybe he tells them that he does it and it's for their own good. I heard a semi-famous musician called C6 Steve. That's his real name. And he made it successful later on in life. And he was talking and people said to him, why didn't you make it earlier or something like that? He said, well, because I wasn't ready. Well, the unclean spirits told him that. For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and they shall. It's not true. The unclean spirits just probably didn't want to do it for him. They make it for children. What about Justin Bieber? He was a child and he was making billions. The plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel, with those 7, they are eyes of Jehovah. And the word for eyes is ayin. It's eyes, which run to and fro through the whole earth. You think that doesn't happen anymore? Wrong, it does. Then answered I and said unto him, what are these 2 olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick and upon the left side? And I answered again and said unto him, what be these 2 olive branches which through the 2 golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And he answered me and said, knowest thou not what these be? And I said, no, my Lord. Then said he, these are the 2 anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. This is not what it says in the Hebrew. All the Hebrew manuscripts got this in the same way. They don't have deviation. And I'll tell you what the words say. Zechariah 4:14 starts out, Ve'omer, and speak, Elah, like these or something, and speak these, Shnai, which is 2. Okay, so he's talking about these 2, Shnai, it's the word for 2. Beni is the next word, and that's Hebrew 11:21, and it means son. Then the next word is Yitzar, which is purified oil that would be used for anointing. So he's saying these 2 Beni sons, purified oil, okay, stand, Omadim, Ha-Omadim, they basically saying the plural, they stand, Al, by Adon, Lord, call all, Ha'eretz, all the land. Okay, so he's saying these are 2 sons of clarified oil. The oil was used for anointing. He's saying these were 2 anointed sons, standing by the Lord of the land, of Ha'eretz, or the earth. I think you can say the Lord of the earth, okay? Anointed sons. These are the 2 witnesses. Now you get your confirmed very quickly in Revelation 11. Revelation. Whoops, what's wrong here? Oh, I'm in the wrong. Okay, I can't know what to do. Alright. Revelation 11. 11. 11. Okay. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11 Let's go 11 verse 3. Or we could go to 1. Let's go Revelation 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar, them and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Goyim, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 and 2 months. This is the next temple, I believe. Okay, let's read. And I will give. Wait a minute. Okay. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. I think this goes back to the past with this thing with Revelation 11. I think it's the events leading to the great day of the Lord. I'm rather certain of that. And they had a court of the Gentiles in that place, I believe. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days. The word for prophesy is prophetio, to foretell the future. It's basically prophesying. Hold on, let's see if my wife's left yet. 1 second, we'll finish this. Alright, Chiefy, I gotta get out. No, you don't want to let me out. Alright, I gotta go around the other way because you're more important than me. You're dogs and I'm just a stupid human. Alright. She left. I think this 42 months is the build-up to the great day of the Lord. In the previous temple, they had a court of the Gentiles, but they weren't treading the holy city down. And I will give, and they say in the text, it says, I will give power unto my two witnesses, but that's not what it says in the in the real text. It says, I will give. And the word for give is 1325 in the Greek, Strong's number. Present, give, bestow. Let's go to Strong's and see what Strong's. They got a million meanings. What is Strong saying? To give. Could also mean greatly modified. Bestow, bring, grant. Okay. Give, you know, so I will give unto my two witnesses. And the word there is really martyrs. It's the Greek, the transliteration of the Greek is martyrs, actually. But when we interpret the meaning, we actually come up with a witness. So I think the witness is the better translation than a martyr. In a legal sense also. Ethical, legal. And it also can be more, so it's got like a dual meaning, and they both fit the two witnesses. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. I do not believe this to be a literal 1260. I don't believe it. I think they're going to be around a lot longer than that. These are the two olive trees. There it is, right from Zechariah 4. It's interpreting it for you. And the two candlesticks standing before the God of the whole earth. It's explaining it to you there. They're his anointed sons. It's concealed in Zechariah 4. It's been opened to you. The word Christ, the church is called the Messiah Jesus Christ. There's no J in Hebrew, so it has to be Yeshua. Christ comes from Christos, which comes from Mashiach in the Hebrew, which means anointed. Or, I mean, they go to the Latin and then it goes to the Hebrew, something like that. But it's anointed. Yeshua, what it means is the anointed. His last name wasn't Christ. Okay, he didn't have a nameplate on his door or the mailbox that said Yeshua Christ, like John Smith or something. It didn't have, okay, it's Yeshua the anointed. These two are also anointed. So am I telling you God's now, when we understand this, is sending 3 sons down here? You got it, Toyota, that's it. And if any man, okay, standing before the God of the, okay. And if any man will hurt them. Now the word for hurt is not the way it's translated. It's Strong's number Greek 91. To act unjustly, wrong, injure, violate a law. It's to wrong morally, socially, or physically, to hurt or injure, unjust, suffer. So if they try messing with them, like lying to them, okay, like Ananias and Sapphira lied to the apostles. They said you were lying to the Holy Spirit. They died. Right? It's sort of like this. If anybody's going to mess with them physically, or try to come over to them and act like they were a false believer and try to make them think they're a true believer, the gift of discernment will kick in, and they'll see. This is my understanding. And they'll see the unclean spirit in the person or hanging around the other person. And they'll just burn the person up because it's trying to mess with them. I'm not going to be tolerant to this. There's two new sheriffs in town, and you better listen, because they're here to enforce the law. What law? The law of Jehovah, Moses' law. And if you're not going to follow Moses' law, you're going to be cut off. Just like you go to Dard City and you're not going to follow the law, Wyatt Earp and his brothers are going to get rid of you. They're going to run you out of Dard City. Well, you're going to get run off the earth. It's not a great analogy, but I think you're getting the idea. And if any man will hurt them, the fire proceedeth out of their mouth. Now the word for fire is 4442, the Strong's number. And it can mean fire. It also means fiery and fierce, but it pertains to fire. It's a fire word. And specifically, it can mean lightning. A fiery, F-I-E-R-Y, fire could be lightning. So that's why I'm saying it could be a lightning type fire, where the goes out. It may not have any thunder associated with it, but the lightning will go out and just instantly burn the person up. And if they wanted to burn up an invading army, which they will, of say a few people, like 4 or 5 million, the fire would go out and burn them all up. This is not sending them to the gym to get an 8th degree black belt in some system so they could go, this is so people know it's Jehovah doing it through this person. That's what this is. Fire proceedeth out of their mouths and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, it's the Greek 91 word, adikeo or something like that, unjustly wrong, mess with them, physically or otherwise. And if any man will hurt or mess with them or hurt them or harm them or, impede them and stuff like that, he must in this manner be killed. And the word for killed is 615, which is Strong's number, well, that's the number. Kill, destroy, annihilate, got the idea. Killed is a good translation. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. Now, does that mean they have to shut the whole earth off or parts of it? Parts of it. And have powers over waters to turn them to blood. Could they go to a community and turn their lakes or streams or rivers into blood? Yes, they can. Can they stop this, let's say an area, a county or something like that from having rain? Yes. Could they turn the water to blood? Yeah. Is that going to show the S-Spot leaders that 2 new sheriffs have come to town? Oh yeah. Might they try to go against the 2 witnesses? Sure. What happens? Burn up, goodbye, forget you, move on, never, like they never happened. Okay. Blot them out of your memory. And they turn the waters to blood. Now, when it says blood, it doesn't mean they turn them a red dye color. It's blood. And you can't drink blood. You'll barf. You get sick. It doesn't work. Animals can. You're not an animal. So, theoretically, if a lion wanted to come up there and drink the blood, would it sit well with the lion? Probably quite well. Or a cheetah, or a jaguar, or a puma, and all that. Yeah, a hyena, whatever. Yeah, sure. But not you. And to smite the earth. Now, the word for the earth is the earth. With all plagues, as often as they will. So they can use any of the plagues. Plagues means a hit. it's really a hit. Now, there were 10 hits in Exodus when the forerunner type of the two witnesses, Moses and Aaron, who were also prophets, and Aaron moved on to be the high priest, but one of the two witnesses will move on to be the anointed prince in the temple, where they were told by Jehovah, go appear to Pharaoh and tell him there's going to be a lot of frogs in Egypt tomorrow, right? There are 10 different things. And the Lord said, these are my plagues. So is it possible that there's only these 10 plagues? Or could they bring other plagues down? I think they could probably invent their own plagues. Or hits is the new word. Boom, a hit. Like the military was there. Oh, we were hit last night. They hit us with 16 missiles, something like that. So, could they put boils on the people? Sure. Could they put leprosy? Do you think they could do it to one person? Sure. Could they put blindness on him? Well, Paul did that to a guy. Sure. Deafness. They could do blindness. They could do deafness. Could they send bees or yellow jackets or wasps? Yeah. Could they do a Pied Piper type thing and send a few million rats to a city? I suppose. I don't know why they would do that one, but probably. I don't think they would do that. But the frogs were prevalent in Egypt, and they could do the frogs. They could probably do other things. You could send caterpillars. That would be rather annoying. You could send frogs. The reason they sent the frogs is the Egyptians were believing the frogs to be some sort of deities. There's lots of things you could send. They have the ability to select the hit or the plague as often as they will. Moses and Aaron were told specifically, tomorrow go to Pharaoh and tell him this is going to happen. They are not going to be so closely directed. They came down from heaven. Moses and Aaron didn't. So they will have the ability to select the plague and the target and do it. Could they bring hail on a city, like a lot of it? Yeah. Could they bring down hailstones that were rather large, like a beach ball that weighed, 50, 80, 100 pounds? I guess they could. They create their own plagues, their own hits. And when they shall have finished their testimony, now the word for testimony is judicial evidence. I think we got a bad translation here. The evidence given, or the report, okay, they're witness. So they're witnessing things, and they're giving the report. So when they have finished their testimony, that's what testimony is, testifying. The beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them. I get the impression that the beast then comes out, but maybe not, because somebody had to give him a head wound he recovered from previously, so it could be them. Got to pray for more clarity on this. The beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. I guess the powers that they had don't work on the beast because he's not a human. He come up out of the pit, not a regular human. That could be one explanation. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. That's Pergamos. That's not Jerusalem, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Yeshua was crucified outside the gates. It says that in the scriptures. He was not crucified in Jerusalem. He probably was crucified inside Fort Antonius near the temple next door, sort of, kind of, where they had all their abominations and their demon idols and everything else. In Revelation 13, let me keep going and then I'll go back and show you. Well, I'll show you why it's not there, real quick. I've done this before, but some people may not know this. Revelation 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this is the beast that the whore was riding on. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And so it's his attributes. A leopard strikes fast and is deadly, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. A bear has big claws, and his mouth is the mouth of a lion, which has really got big fangs and a great big mouth and roars. And the dragon, that's Satan, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So where does this happen? In Jerusalem? Not a chance, because Scripture shows you otherwise, if you want to believe the Scriptures, which most people don't. So we go to, whoops, we go where? This thing's giving me trouble here. Hold on. Revelation 2:12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos, write these things, saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. That's Yeshua. To the church of Pergamos. Pergamos is a city near the coast in Cyprus. Cyprus is in the Mediterranean, never going to be part of Israel, never is, never was. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Satan's seat is in Pergamos, where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. So Satan's seat is in Pergamos. Satan dwells in Pergamos, which is in Cyprus. There's no Pergamos in Israel. Okay? So all this with the temple, with the man of sin holding himself out as God, with the false prophet and the talking statue, that all happens in Pergamos, in Cyprus. That's where the 2 witnesses get killed. So hard for the church to understand this because they're being deceived by their leaders. Now I'm in Revelation 11:8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was killed. And they, the people, it's not literally, it's spiritually. It's a bad place, like Sodom and Gomorrah in Egypt. That's what Pergamos is going to be like, with idols and everything. And they of the people and the kindred and the tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies. It doesn't say the Israelites, 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. They're having a party. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. And after 3 days, so They're having a party. Oh, look, our God's stronger. Who can make war with the beast? We got it knocked. We're stronger than God. That's their game, to get over on God. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. There's people going, uh-oh, they rose from the dead. Oh, this is bad. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither, and ascended up to the heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Now, it says that Yeshua, speaking of Yeshua, whom the heaven must receive until the restitution of all things. Well, when the two witnesses go back to heaven where they came down from, that's the restitution of all things. And now Yeshua doesn't have to stay in heaven. He can come back down here. So, assuming Yeshua wants to come back down here with his brethren, which I assume he greatly does, to do all the blessings on them, I'm quite sure he has to wait till the two witnesses prepare the way for him. You got it? Prepare the way in a little bit different than the way John the Baptist is doing it, quite a bit different. Prepare the way for him to come down here. And once they rise from the dead and they go back to be with their Father, which I'm sure he's glad to see them and they are glad to see him, then Yeshua comes down. I imagine they'll have a powwow with Yeshua, or talk, or say hello, or something. And then he comes down. Come up hither, and they ascended to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain men 7,000, and that's probably a spiritual figure. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms, plural, of this world are, and the word for world is cosmos, which means world, are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before God, on their seats, fell upon their faces and worshipped God, the 24. Probably the 12 heads of all the tribes, the ones the tribes were named after, and the 12 apostles. I think that's where you get the 24. Saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou should give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldst destroy them which destroy the earth. And they destroyed the earth. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunders and an earthquake and great hail. So if the temple was going to be done away with, why would there be a temple in heaven still? See how the narrative in the church falls apart? It makes no sense. So remember, some of these Satan bots, you could toss them and whole enchilada them until the cows come home, and they're still going to keep doing evil and wicked because they love it. They love it. And they're under a delusion from the unclean spirits, deceiving and being deceived. They're deceived because they deceive people. And the more they deceive the people, the more they get deceived. And they're under grievous deception from the unclean spirits, and they believe it. So you don't really have to spend a lot of time thinking about, oh, I want to get even with them and this and that. Their punishment is massive, okay? Massive, and it's soon to come. You'll see this year of recompenses, I'm thinking 2 billion or so get cut off. More maybe. And then when the great day of the Lord comes, even more are going to get cut off. Look, in Ezekiel 38, it tells you the extent of the people getting cut off over there. It's just, I'll try to find it for you real quick. Ezekiel 38. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, it's the word of the Lord, it's not with error. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Let me just get to the right. I don't want to read everything. Hold on. See if I could do a search for this and it comes up. It might. Actually, it's in Ezekiel 39, number 2. Sorry, I had the wrong verse, the wrong chapter. Ezekiel 39, 1 and 2. We'll go there. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back, and leave but the 6th part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. Okay, God arranges this. He leaves 1/6 of these nations that attack Israel left at home, and that's what's left, because all the ones coming to attack Israel are kaput, they're dead. So the only ones that survive this are the 1/6. That's the great day of the Lord. Now, this is in the King James, the 1/6. It's in the 1611 King James. It's in the 1599 Geneva, and not in many other translations. It's just not in there. They don't want you to know this. But it's there. So the devastation on them is critical. Now, they know this is in the Bible, but they don't believe it could come to pass anymore, because when they killed Yeshua, they changed everything. They didn't. They don't have power over you. They have power over you if you're dumb, and well, if you're not studious in the scriptures, and you don't understand the scriptures, and you don't take the time and trouble, then you don't know how to defend yourself, and you become ignorant of Satan's devices, and then Satan has at you, and he gets away with it. Luke 10:17, and the 70 returned again with joy. These were the 70 counselors, I guess. with joy, saying, Lord, even this 70 will be back again. It's in Isaiah 1. Returns again, you see when Yeshua was here, he set up the 70. Moses and Aaron set the 70 up, but we'll set them up again. And the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subordinate, subject unto us. That means they have to listen to us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld, that's a past tense word, Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you powers to tread on all serpents and scorpions. These could be regular serpents and scorpions, and also the ones that come up out of the pit where the beast comes from, which are locusts with tails like scorpions and serpents. Now let's keep reading. And over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. So they can't hurt you. And it's over all the power of the enemy. So whatever they could do, you could undo. So you could stop them from being effective against you using people or working directly. The only thing, so you could stop them. I'll read that again because we had a pause there from the battery warning. It says you can tread over all the power of the enemy. Whatever they can do, you can undo, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. They can't hurt you. They can't come back. There's no vengeance. There's no payback. There's no retaliation. Satan loses. That's it. But Satan only loses against those that really understand the true gospel. These signs shall follow those that believe. In my name you shall cast out devils. Well, you have to be a believer to do this. So that's what I try to teach people, is techniques and ways so we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. That's why I have this whole Telegram channel on spiritual warfare. If you don't know where it is, you want to know where it is, just send me an email. My email address is in the description box of the video, which is under the video. And I'll email it to you. And let's take a look at the... Okay. Please pray for me and my wife, Rivka. Pray for our finances, important now. Pray for my wife's new business, which is going well. Thank you for the prayers. Keep praying for it. It's taking time to grow. Pray for our peace, for me and my wife, Rivka, Moshe and Rivka, for our peace, safety, protection, and joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Not run away. Pray for better videos. Pray for better teaching. And pray for the two witnesses to come together and the Lord launches them. And they'll both be Israelites, so they'll be here. They're here. They're waiting for the light to go green. And they're going to work as prophets. They're not going to be, pastors, teachers, evangelists, elders, apostles. They're prophets. Look at Elijah, what he did. Okay? John the Baptist was another prophet. You could also look at Samson. He was a prophet. Look at the judges, if you want to know what they're going to do. They're going to run the country. And they're going to run it, basically, allegorically speaking, straight up to the third heaven. It's going to be, you're going to have righteousness up to here. People will be walking around as a joke saying, don't make waves, there's so much righteousness, That's a joke. They'll be swimming in like a river. It says like a river. peace like a river, righteousness. That's the result of this. And you'll be rich beyond your dreams, and you'll be happy and joyful, and your kids are not going to come home with a 45 in their belt or the Harley Davidson flying the colors of some gang. You and your whole house shall be saved. That happened in the days of the apostle with the jailer, and they used the scripture to back it up. You and your whole house shall be saved. It'll happen again. Why won't it? When God turns his face back to Israel, why won't it? Because your kids are so bad, or your parents are so bad. It doesn't matter how bad they are. That's a cold rock. He says he spits the lukewarm rock out of his mouth. But take care of your families. Don't worry. And you may not. Maybe some of them don't make it because they're over the line. So they'll wipe the tears from you. You'll be okay. You'll get new children. Like it says. Don't worry about it. One way or another, you're going to be happy. Those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. Okay? Thank you for the offerings that people are sending. And that's what I got for today, and I hope you got something out of it. And we'll keep working intensely in this year of recompenses and see where, we'll keep watching. Okay. I'm out. I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Thank you.